Do you remember the level on screen? What about this one? Well, if you said yes, then you're probably really cool. No, I'm kidding. These levels are two of the many iconic levels that make up the LittleBigPlanet franchise, a franchise that so many people, including myself, held very dearly. It is nearly impossible to describe how perfect the LittleBigPlanet games are, but good things do not tend to last. It seems like nowadays LittleBigPlanet is just a distant whisper of a franchise, and it has been forgotten and neglected by PlayStation and other developers alike. Today I'd like to discuss LittleBigPlanet in detail, and how the community is still refusing to let their favorite childhood game fall on deaf ears. I'm going to be blunt here. I really miss LittleBigPlanet. As many of you know, the online servers for all of the main LittleBigPlanet games have been shut down permanently, LittleBigPlanet 3 being the most recent loss. In the beginning half of 2024, the plug was pulled on the last active LittleBigPlanet game after extensive incidents regarding hackers and moderation. I was there when the LittleBigPlanet 3 servers shut down, and seeing that message for the first time was absolutely heartbreaking. To make matters worse, LittleBigPlanet 3 and all of its DLCs were delisted from the PlayStation Store. I believe it's fair to say that this series absolutely did not deserve this sort of treatment. Man, they really screwed over my favorite childhood games. Now, it has been over a year since the LittleBigPlanet 3 servers shut down, and I've slowly moved away from LittleBigPlanet itself. But it's incredibly hard to move away from the series considering the fact that these games made my childhood. After a while, I was hit with a nostalgia bug, and so I decided to re-download LittleBigPlanet 3. LittleBigPlanet 3 was basically all I played when I was younger, and upon logging back into the game, I was obviously met with the error 403 message, which is just straight up taunting me at this point. But before the servers went offline, I managed to save all of my old published levels from LittleBigPlanet 1 and LittleBigPlanet 2 to my moon, meaning all of the levels that I made as a kid were backed up, or I mean most of them. Man, these levels were bad though, but that's to be expected. They aren't supposed to be masterpieces, they're just supposed to be testaments to a simpler time, which is a more detailed way of saying they remind me of my childhood. And hey, some of my old childhood levels were pretty decent considering how young I was in the early 2010s when I made them. To cut it short, it was really sweet going through and revisiting my old levels, as goofy as they were. LittleBigPlanet left such a big impact on who I am as a person. I used to play LittleBigPlanet 2 every day back in 2012, 2013, around that time. When LittleBigPlanet 3 came out, I practically lived on that game when I was younger. I loved posting levels and playing with my friends, and well, that's the thing about LittleBigPlanet. Everything was so simple and so peaceful.
Girls, did I have them? Yes, do. So Paul reported it so. I'm sorry. Oh, true.
I think it would be easier to create a new element than to describe how influential LittleBigPlanet was to its players. LittleBigPlanet is the reason I went on to create a YouTube channel, and I believe it's the reason why I have my creativity at my age now. I'll simply put it like this: LittleBigPlanet was beyond special for the players. So will there ever be anything close to LittleBigPlanet again? The short answer is no, and this is because we only have one childhood. I'm just glad I spent my childhood playing LittleBigPlanet with some really amazing people, and from another point of view, you just sort of had to live in the moment to fully understand why LittleBigPlanet was so amazing, and why there won't ever be an experience like it again. After revisiting LittleBigPlanet 3 today, I wanted to see if LittleBigPlanet as a franchise still had any relevance anymore. And so I began to see if the community that played LittleBigPlanet was still together, and I was absolutely charmed upon learning that there are still many people out there actively making videos on LittleBigPlanet, and these videos are still getting pretty decent views. LittleBigPlanet as a legacy, you know, it's not going anywhere. People are still going to be talking about this game, and every now and then Sackboy's gonna be included in some, like, cover art or, like, promotional pictures for PlayStation, so it's still there. He still exists, you know, sometimes he's gonna be mentioned in a YouTube video or two. He's still very relevant, but as far as games go, I don't think Sony's gonna do anything with it. There are also still people like dedicating TikTok accounts to Little Big Planet, and there are still people making an effort to keep these games alive through private servers. There are still so many people posting daily about Little Big Planet, and its influence is still very much there. However, it might not be enough to influence Sony to pick up the IP and actually do something great with it again. It is really sad to see how Little Big Planet went from Sony's poster boy game to a neglected and forgotten IP. I said this earlier, but Little Big Planet definitely didn't deserve the ending it did. It feels like it was cut way too short. Little Big Planet was something truly great, and as I've said, I would have given a lot to see it come back again. I'm just happy that there are so many people out there that try to keep this game relevant. I believe Little Big Planet is very much alive, and I also wanted to mention that I've been watching some gameplay from the Little Big Planet 2 private servers, and it looks very interesting. One of these days I'd like to check it out and possibly record my experience. Alright, I had no clue how to properly transition or include this point, but I really wanted to mention how Little Big Planet karting has some of the best music in the Little Big Planet series. Don't get me wrong, I really love Little Big Planet 2 for its music and stuff like that, especially the Avalonia theme or Factory of a Better Tomorrow, but Little Big Planet karting's music was just genuinely amazing. This really doesn't have anything to do with what I was just talking about earlier, but I just had to mention how good Little Big Planet karting was with this music. Wow, the pacing in this video is crazy, but anyway, we're on to my last talking point. I'd like to share my thoughts on why Little Big Planet as a franchise was so good. I mean, I keep talking about how good it was, but here's my opinion. Little Big Planet never had a bad game in the series. There is not a single game that I did not have fun with. On top of that, I enjoyed it because it allowed me to express myself as a kid. I could create levels, goofy little levels at that, and share them with a fun and supportive community. I don't know about you, but this is like everything I always wanted as a kid, and it was probably one of the only ways I could really express my creativity on like a deeper scale. Of the levels I made, I don't believe any of them received any hate comments. That's because the community was so peaceful. On top of being extremely creative and extremely awesome as a game, the community was even better. With my experience, there was never any arguing or any problems with the community. There was also never a friend that you couldn't make because everyone was so friendly. In later terms, Little Big Planet never missed. The soundtrack always hit, the story mode always hit, the characters always hit, and most importantly, the community levels always hit. Alright, as lame as that sounded, what I'm trying to say is that there was not a bad Little Big Planet. Sure, Little Big Planet 3 had its downsides, but it wasn't bad. I played that game so much. There was not a bad Little Big Planet. And it built up my childhood. You know, I keep saying that because it did. It was so important to me and a lot of other people. Honestly, I doubt that we're ever going to see a 4th edition or spin-off for a good long while, but there's still hope. I bet I'll be in my 20s before Sony would even think about doing anything with Little Big Planet again, but I could be wrong. I would like to be wrong. I really love this game so much, and for that reason, upon being asked what my favorite game is, I will always mention Little Big Planet first. I don't think any other game will come close to the experience I had on Little Big Planet, and it will always stay as my favorite game. Whoa there, buddy. Whoa. Before I end this, this is editing Jimmy Guy, but this video had so many funny bloopers. I just have to show you some of my favorites. Little Big Planet was something truly gay. Wow. No, I didn't mean to say that. Damn it. Anyway, we're on to my last talking point. I'd like to... Stomach noise, hold on. I was there when the Little Big Planet 3 server... Wow. Just don't believe any of them ever received hates... damn. Oh. Alright. Back to the outro. Thank you for watching. I appreciate you clicking on this video and hopefully getting here by yourself. I don't know. Anyway, I want to do more Little Big Planet stuff because it really broke me when I went back to Little Big Planet 3 today. Anyway, hope you enjoyed the bloopers and more importantly the video. But yeah, I'll see you later and hit that little subscribe button. That'd be cool too. That'd be really awesome. I heard it gives you a cookie. No, wait, that was lame. Ignore I said then. Alright, thank you. But thank you? Wait, for what? Just end the video, god damn.